All right, I think it's live. I've got a cough drop in. Not good, not good, not good. I've got a really special guest on tonight, Sean, with Hire, Lead, and Chill. Must be Tuesday, 4 p.m. 408 Eastern Time, somewhere in there. That was my fault. It's not Curt's fault. We got Curt Kempton on. I'm going to go and introduce Curt in a minute and bring him in. A lot of you know Curt. He's one of the kindest gentleman I've ever met in my life, and I mean that sincerely. So we'll bring him in a minute. All kinds of stuff going on with Curt. Let me get through the boring stuff and give you my weekly update on what's happening in the labor market and economic stuff. There's that asterisk. I got to get something like a sign or something cool. I am not an economist. I'm just a blue collar type of guy, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. And I kind of got some street smarts, and I got a little bit of internet stuff I'll look up and act like I know what I'm talking about. But let me go over it, man. So last week we got some October numbers with new home sales. The new home sales, not real good. It's been pretty steady, and it's survived the interest rate hikes we've had over the last year. And we've had some massive hikes in a short amount of time. So I would have thought this was coming sooner, but I guess it just hit us in October. So pending home sales in October was the lowest level since I think it's the National Association of Realtors that began tracking it in like 2000 or 2001. So that's a big drop. 679,000 when they were expecting about 725,000 new home sales. So that's a pretty big number there. So we're probably seeing some stuff happening with that, the interest rates. Plus in October, the 30-year mortgage was up over 8% in the first time in a long time. Now in November here, because remember, we're sort of in December, so we're at the end of November, just getting October's numbers. And so the interest rates are now below 8%. They're like around 7.25, 7.5, 30-year fixed. But the realtors that I talk to, and I do talk to some realtors, and I know some realtors around the country, it's not just the interest rates that have gone up that are creating this issue, but there's still very low supply right now. So even with the rates up, there's buyers out there, but the supply is low. When you have low supply like that, even the high interest rates that have come about, supply and demand, man, supply and demand, low supply, lots of demand. The one I like, or one of them that I like, is the consumer confidence level. So consumer confidence in that came out for October. And remember, gas prices were pretty high in October. They've dipped big time in the end of November here and into December. So with that high price and everything going on around the world, and cross seas there, God help everybody over there. But the consumer confidence here in the United States actually went up. So that's, I think, a really good thing. Anytime consumer confidence goes up, and confidence and family stuff that's going on financially and that type of thing, I think is really good news no matter what. So that's good. And if consumer confidence is going up, that means that they're pretty confident about spending and things. So that's cool. GDP in the Q3, they had some revisions. It was actually a really good number. And basically GDP just measures the monetary value of goods and services sold. So basically it's kind of like the United States' income or revenue. And that's really what the GDP measures. So if that's higher, super good for the economy. It went up to 5.2%. That's pretty impressive. They were predicting maybe around 4.9%. So that's a pretty big surprise. Uh-oh, here comes Grover, my cat. So if you hear him meow, it's not me or my wife. Inflation. We've heard that. Inflation. October, good news. Inflation, no change. No change. I don't remember the last time that happened. So inflation is going to shoot through the roof, and then it's come down a little bit, but it's kind of going like this. Now it's starting to steady off a little bit. So that's super good news. I mean, groceries and everything else are crazy. So I think all in all, we've got some really good news there. We don't have news about unemployment and things like that until tomorrow. Is a huge day, and the rest of the week for the labor market economic reporting, including ADP, which is the huge payroll company, ADP. They come out, I think they have like 20% or 25% of private businesses use their services for payroll stuff. So they've got a really good insight of what's going on with private companies around the country with wages. So we'll see if there's any wage inflation going on, unemployment rate, jobless claims. Grover just meowed, so he must have put in for a jobless claim. He doesn't do much but sleep about 18 hours a day. But you're 15. We love you, buddy. We love you. All right. I am done with the nonsense of all of that. So let's do it here. Let me find where I'm at. Oh, there's Curt. Curt Kempton is in the house, and Curt is one of the best human beings I've ever met. And I mean that wholeheartedly. And Curt, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
Well, thank you. That's a really big claim to live up to. Let's just tone it down a little bit, buddy.
You're right. You're right. You're like the marketing sales guy. You got to set those expectations a little bit more realistic, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But it is so fun to be with you, Sean. I'm super excited to be with you here.
Cool. Why don't you do this? I'm going to share this to a couple different groups out there. Why don't you tell the crowd that who you are, what's going on, and all that stuff, where you came from.
Okay, sounds good. I am Curt Kempton from Phoenix, Arizona. I grew up and married my wife young. We started having kids while I was in college, and I graduated from college thinking I was going to go work for corporate America and start a bike shop of my own, possibly. And things did not very quickly go according to plan. I ended up starting a window washing and pressure washing business. Best thing I ever did. It was a great experience for me. Ran that for about 5 years and sold it because as I was building it, I realized I fell in love with systems. I built a software. I love systems and I hate sales. Those are the two things I learned about myself in my business. And I created a software that would help me to automate my sales and to be able to create a really strong sales system around somebody who doesn't particularly care for sales. And a lot of it has to do with the way I was conditioned as a kid. And a lot of it was false beliefs about salespeople. However, that was another really great thing. But I'm not the kind of guy who can have multiple businesses. You know, the Richard Bransons of the world and the Josh Latimers of the world who can have 7 or 8 businesses and manage them all. Mike Dalkeys of the world. These people, they're able to manage lots of businesses. I can't. And so I fell in love with the systems of selling and created ResponsiBid, sold my window cleaning and pressure washing business. And for the last decade, all I've done is just focus on ResponsiBid.
Awesome. Awesome. So how long ago did you actually start ResponsiBid?
Well, technically 2001 is the year that I started it. Or 2011, sorry, 2001.
I was going to say 2001. Wow.
I got married in 2001.
On dial-up. You were on dial-up with ResponsiBid 0.0.
Negative. No, did not do that. So got married in 2001, started in 2011, but we had a pretty slow start because it was mainly just for my company at the time. But for those of you who know Jason Evers, Coastline Window Cleaning, he's gone on to be a pretty awesome public speaker and coach and mentor and stuff. He was my very first customer at ResponsiBid and sold that to him at the IWCA trade show where I was like putting it all on the line. Like, I have no business owning a software company, but does anyone want to buy my software? And so he signed up and the rest has been history.
That's awesome. So that was actually, even though it wasn't 2001, 2011 is it's 2024, man, coming up, right? So that's quite a while ago to have put that vision together so long. I mean, now it's like app here, app there, you can boom this, boom that, and there's 20 different things going on. And so you kind of pioneered that a little bit for the home cleaning industry, I think. And I think that's a big kudos to you and the people around you. Plata and I, we got into the recruiting game kind of the same way. We stumbled into it a little bit, right? We had all these cleaning companies. We were trying to figure things out. We were up to like maybe 11 different businesses in, 6 different states. And we found out that was really hard to do, just like you. It's so hard to do that. And so we're like, we need to start a whole recruiting division just for our own company. And we're like, okay, what do we do? So it was. And then we kind of really started to see how much we enjoyed doing it and how we put these systems and processes together for it. And now there's a lot of competition out, but that's great because that's good for everybody. And you've kind of fallen into that too, haven't you?
Yeah, we sure have. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of other tools that are around, and with ChatGPT, people are able to feel like they can build more like custom tools for themselves. So I think AI is going to have a really massive and also a very exponentially quick impact on the world that we're living in. But yeah, we've seen some. It's hard to call them competitors because we really do live in this space alone. But a lot of people will get like a CRM and use the tools that are in the CRM. We're a sales funnel that connects to a CRM. And oftentimes, as these CRMs have gotten more and more powerful, people will just sort of settle for some of the tools in there or build some sort of code tool for their website. But at the end of the day, the ResponsiBid product is almost as much about, well, actually, if you read our reviews on like Google, for example, you'll see that it's more about our people and the team that come with it and helping you to set your strategy than the actual product. So ResponsiBid, sure, it could be said that we're a software sales system, but our team really focuses on helping everyone who gets set up with build a strategy. What do you want to happen? How are we going to translate that into a system? We make that system for you in terms of pricing, packaging, bundling, follow-up, setting up your scheduling automations. That's another thing. A lot of people think that scheduling is an art, and it's more of a science actually, but we've developed a tool that allows people to sort of schedule efficiently jobs on the fly with exact mileage and time distances away from each other. And so we built some really cool tools that there's nothing else like it out there. And I'd encourage anyone to check it out. But this has been my life's work. This has been something that I feel really good when I go to bed at night, knowing that I'm helping to take a process that maybe psychologically is hard for some entrepreneurs, particularly if you're like me, but then also especially owner operators or someone trying to train people in their business. It's a system that requires consistency.
Yeah.
And that consistency often takes you after hours, and it often cuts into the time of jobs that you could be out working. So unfortunately, I find that a lot of husbands are away from their wives and fathers are away from their children. Not to say that we don't have women customers, but so many people don't get the life they want because they don't realize that I work all day, then I go to the office, then I go give quotes. And by the time you do it, you're 18 hours into the day and it's really hard to do anything other than those things. So we try to make it so that it's easier for you to be the human being that you want to be.
It's beautiful, man. Beautiful. That's anytime I have a guest on, I look for those things that they talk about that I can identify with and that I can, and by no means is Hire, Lead, and Chill even in the same ballpark as you guys. You've been around and you've just done wonderful for people. We're still kind of working on, we're revamping everything and we're rolling it out in a couple of weeks. But I always when I do it, pat myself on the back and say, thank you for doing that, Sean. You were supposed to do that a month ago. And that is this. I tell my team that we are changing the world for a small amount of people in the world in this little thing we call the home service space, right? And I tell them, if we can find 3 or 4 really good technicians for them to go clean something, install something, repair something, I bet they're going to sleep better that night. I bet their wife is going to stop the divorce paperwork and maybe not go look for a lawyer as soon as she thought she may. I mean, we're helping the culture at that business because they're hiring employees and they don't have people ruining their culture, which is something a small business owner works on really hard. If they even get to the point where they can work on a culture in their business, they're sleeping better, their family life's better, they're going out and doing the things they want because they're not worried about what am I going to do tomorrow when 1 person or 2 people calls off work. What am I going to do? And that's a big deal, man. And you do those things on the other side of the equation, the demand side of the equation with going and fetching the client. We kind of do it, and we try to catch up with you marketing guys and try to get the employees to go fetch the checks and provide the service that your marketing out there is going and fetching for the clients out there. And it's awesome. So I can identify a little bit like that. processes. Let me back up just a minute, because you brought in, since we're talking about family life and we're talking about taking care of family and being there and doing things as a family. And you and I have talked briefly at shows and things like that, and then 10 people will interrupt us about something, but we have talked a little bit about our beliefs and our spiritual beliefs and things like that. I'm a God-fearing human being, and I know you are as well. And I want to talk about this. I've had people reach out to me recently, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. There tends to be, for some people, this tough balancing act between, I go to church on Sunday, I want my kids and the family to say our prayers and do the good and do good work for the Lord, right? And be good kids of God. That's what we're all in this together, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And so that's one side of our life, and then there's this business side of our life going, profit, where's the profit? Where's the profit? Where's the money? I know money is not that important, but I got to be able to pay my bills. I got to pay my people. I got to pay. We need more money to do that. There's this balancing act. Can you talk a little bit about have you ever had that problem? And if so, talk a little bit about that. And then how do you get through it?
Yeah, I actually think that one of the problems I have with sales is a lot about the way I was raised. I was raised to believe that salespeople were manipulative people who were scamming you all the time. They're just trying to eke every penny out of your wallet they possibly could. And then when I find myself as an entrepreneur, I realize, oh my gosh, I'm evil. This is an evil thing. So yeah, you're actually really speaking to my heart right now. This is an important thing for entrepreneurs to be able to get comfortable with in order to live in their own skin. You can get a job for any old company in the whole world and not be in sales. But as an entrepreneur, you're in sales. So the problem is, it's what I tell people who think that they're signing up for a job that's not commission. So let's say you get an engineer, because engineers are about as far away from sales as I can come up with. Yeah. So in the world, you can get a job and think that it's not about the money. I just do it for the love of it. So let's say you go to college, you become a great engineer, and you are willing to work for whatever it takes just to survive. You're fine with that. This is what I tell people who I'm hiring in the process. I said, I know this is not a commission job, but I just want to make it very clear. Every job, to some extent, comes down to a commission job. And the reason is because when the company hires you, they're expecting a certain benefit. And they're paying you money to receive that benefit. Now, to a salesperson, we say, whatever you kill and you bring home, we're going to give you a percentage of that as a commission, and that's how you're going to make your money. But at the end of the day, every job, even if you're an engineer, even if you're a doctor or a lawyer, whatever it may be, as a cleaner, if you don't bring in more money or value in some way than what the value is that the company is getting, a sales commission person would just get a check for $0 because their commission's zero. No. In the case of someone who is expected to create $800 of value every day and only creates $600 of value or $700 of value or $790 of value, if you're under that threshold, what you will find is that the business will either try to coach you up to it and get you back on track, or you'll be let go. And those are the kinds of conversations that come later on. And so to tie it back to spirituality, at the end of the day, you've been given talents. You don't bury them. You've been given a work to do. Don't try to just keep the status quo. You must multiply those talents, that value, whatever it is that you've been entrusted with. And you need to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And you've probably heard the saying, pray like it depends on God and work like it all depends on you. I don't love the saying because it feels a little bit like it lacks faith. But at the end of the day, God loves effort. He expects us to put through effort. Every teaching that I have read shows that God is not expecting us to provide minimal input into society or minimal input into our work or into our family or into anything else. He literally constructed our bodies so that when you think harder, you become smarter. When you lift weights and strain those muscles, you become stronger. When you work on a relationship, the relationship becomes better. He loves effort. And you need to know and target the efforts that you need to do, because at the end of the day, an entrepreneur's job is a commission job as well.
I love it. Yep, absolutely. And you're right. There's, at the end of the day, there's X amount of dollars in the bank after all expenses. And if there's more dollars at the end of the day, that's because of the people creating that profit. So some of that will go back to those people. If you're going to be a business that's going to grow and inspire to take care of the people that are making you money. So I love it. There's a certain thing that I went through not too long ago, maybe a couple years ago. And I was at a point where I felt really good about where I was on my journey, and I felt really comfortable about things. And I was just in a really good place, comfortable, And I was doing things to get out of my comfort zone when it comes to that stuff. And we hear that all the time. So it wasn't necessarily that, but it was just, I was starting to get a little bit of a sloth going on. I was just like, hey, everything's great. And I found myself having trouble getting motivated to do a lot of work, to do the work I needed to do today. I was, okay, well, I'm thinking about these things and I'm thinking in the future, and there were still things I need to do today. And so I really had to sit down in prayer and try to find, what that answer was and listen, because at the time where I wasn't getting it and I wasn't figuring it out. So I had to listen. And it was, dude, you're here to serve others. That's what you're here to do. That means employees. That means customers. That doesn't mean that I need to go to church on Sunday and make sure I get all the canned foods over there that I want to get under the tree for all the poor kids and all that. That's great. But I also, in my day-to-day work life, need to serve my vendors. Everybody that I come in contact with, I need to serve better. And man, it was just like the whole room lit up for me. And I from that point on, I literally was getting up at like between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, ready to go to work. I was up at like 4:30 this morning. I mean, the alarm clock wasn't waking me up. It was like, I'm up and going. And I have a certain routine, which includes the first thing I always try to do is say some prayers, because I don't want that to get away from me and my day starts. And then I need my coffee. Then I go outside with my dog, and we go outside and we walk forever, and I throw a stick, come back. What's going on with the wife and the kids? And that's kind of my routine. And so it's really just brought a whole new thing, and a new inspiration to me to take care of my clients and my employees. And I don't think I was like noticeably slacking my employees going, hey, where are you? What's going on? Not like that, but I was getting things done, but I wasn't pumped up. I was getting a little burned out and things like that. Now I'm super motivated. So there's a good balance there when you take the time to not forget, and I never know what my talents are. I don't know what the hell my talents are. I mean, if I ask somebody that worked with me all the time, maybe Plata would know what they are. I don't know all the time what it is. So I just have to go. And the bottom line for me is I accept people in the world as it is right now, not how I think it should be and not how I think it needs to be or they need to be. And I try to be present so that I can look at somebody like my wife and say, honey, I'm listening. And not thinking about business, not thinking about this and what I need to do in an hour at business, but actually having a conversation where I hear her and I can ask questions because I'm listening. And it's an amazing thing when I got to that place a few years back. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, you brought up that you don't know what your talents are. I don't know how every denomination translates talents. My understanding is that it was a form of currency at the time. But to me, my translation of that is whatever God has given you. It could be like literal talents, but it could be time, energy, thoughts. It could be a business that you've been entrusted with. And by the way, you're entrusted to a business that you've started. People think, oh, well, no one gave me this business. Yeah, but the Lord's entrusting you with it, and I think that could be the employees. It could be, good fortune and bad fortune. What are you going to do with bad fortune? Like all of it is what I translate to that parable is God gave it to you. Now, what are you going to do with it? And it's like you said, you talk about that morning routine that hits really close to home. My morning routine is so vital to me. I'm the same. At 4:30 in the morning, I'm not usually up by 4:30, but usually just before 5. I'm up. I wake up before the alarm clock. Never needed one. I don't, I use it when I got to get to the airport in the morning just so that I can know I'm going to be up. But spending that time praying and meditating. One of the things that I've learned recently in my morning routine is to start with holding things lightly. I learned it from a friend who actually was a Buddhist monk. He's a Christian, but I didn't know, you can be a Buddhist monk for a week, a month, a year. You can sign up to be a Buddhist monk for however long you want. And fascinating guy. Anyway, he taught me about the principle of holding things lightly. And this has been critical for me. The idea of understanding that I spend most of my time angry that the world's not the way it should be, or that I've worked so hard, I've done all the right things. Why didn't I get it the way I expected it? Or why won't my kid act the way that I want them to act? Or why won't my wife see it from my perspective? That's holding things tightly. That's a very easy concept to understand. I think it's easy to understand. Mm-hmm. But the idea of meditating and holding everything lightly, understanding that, maybe the way Job felt, like his ability to sort of deal with everything is what the Lord gives, he gives. What he takes, he takes. What do you want? What is there left to discuss? I have really enjoyed every morning starting out with trying to observe my thoughts. What am I feeding my brain in terms of thoughts? And what am I holding on to tightly that I need to let go of? And it actually makes my prayers so much stronger. Because I'm not asking, thy will be done, Lord, right? And I think I've always had that idea, but now it feels different ever since I've sort of started employing this concept of holding things lightly.
I love that. Yeah. That's pretty potent, man. It's morning's so important to me. It's just the start of the day and all that, but there's a certain, it's funny, my presentations when I'm talking about recruiting, okay, the first 15 to 20 minutes, I talk about ego and I talk about perception. That's recruiting. That's so important to put your ego on a shelf and to understand perception. And I go through easy things to understand with perception wise. And the easiest thing that I can say is the rain, right? You have a shovel in your hand. Somebody's saying, go dig a hole over there. Here's a shovel, enjoy it. And that's your job today. And you're going and it's pretty soft and then it starts raining and then that mud's getting heavy. And that's this damn rain. I hate this rain. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, you hear this little giggling and you look to the left and there's two little kids in their diapers and they're splashing in the mud puddle and it's raining on them. You cannot not smile. And you're looking at that. It's the same rain.
Yeah.
Now, furthermore, you can put me on a lie detector test and I will pass when I said this rain is absolutely miserable. And I will also pass that lie detector when I say, and looking at those young little kids and smiling, I will pass that lie detector telling you what beautiful rain this is.
Yeah.
That's all on perception, right? That's all that is. What's the truth? Where's the truth in that? They're both the truth. It depends on your perception. Yeah. And I talked a lot about that in the first 20 minutes of my presentation. So it can get you through everything. It can get you through everything. I've got a very dear relative of mine, my brother, who has been told he's going to be dying of cancer. And that's been what he's been told for about 10 years. And my goodness, the first couple of years, he was pretty depressed about it. It was very difficult to have a conversation with him. And about, I don't know. He's had a kidney removed. He's got lung cancers. He's got all kinds of things going on. And then one day, and I haven't asked him this yet, one day a few years back, all of a sudden we're on a group text with my other siblings and him, because my mom's getting old and we have to, one of us is there every day for an hour or two to make sure mom's doing okay. So we got a group text, and all of a sudden, okay, love you guys. I have to text my other brother. I go, who was that? I think that was Dennis. I think it was. This whole new human being. As he's going through chemo and radiation, he starts going to the gym. He lost all kinds of weight from going, not from the chemo and all that, to going to the gym. He's eating differently. You call his wife on the phone and ask for him. Where's he at? He's hardly ever at home. He's over at Fred's at the neighbors. The guy's like 90 and he's fixing his lawnmower for him. He's just out serving people. It's an amazing thing. Now, what's happened around the world and around the people in his life? Nothing has changed. Not one thing has changed except his perception on life. That's it.
I love that.
Let's get into I can go on for about a day and a half with you on this, and maybe we do something down the road. I'll put you on the spot live here, and maybe we'll do something just for the heck of it down the road on some things like with the ego and perception and some things like that.
Yeah, you're talking about some of my favorite subjects. Yeah.
All right. I'll follow up with that, my man. So let's get into what's going on here. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Let's start with tomorrow night. You got something cool going on. Talk a little bit about that, and we'll be posting some links if you haven't already, and we'll get to go. But it's some really cool thing you got going on tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, it's tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. We are going to start a 7-hour webinar where we interview what I consider to be the most thriving winter people in our industry. So this all started with the idea that winter is dreaded by the home service industry. And for good reason. I like to keep my head in the sand as well. Every winter it just came as a surprise. I'm in Phoenix, so it wasn't so much winter as monsoon season is our problem. But anyhow, I'd always pretend it wasn't going to come, and then it would, and then it would surprise me, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, there's certain people in our industry who have done a really great job of diversifying, using other strategies, and doing some really cool stuff. So if you go to wealthywinter.com, you can register for free. It's a 7-hour webinar, I'll call it, but it's a live stream. And you can hop on the stream, and we've got on Wealthy Winter is the whole speaker schedule, everyone we're going to be interviewing, what they're going to be talking about, and it's free. So hop on. Now, if you want to pay the $99 upgrade fee, you can be a VIP and get access to all the videos for life, and you'll get professional notes taken for you, and you'll get a VIP happy hour afterward where we can all hop in a Zoom meeting and beat up the ideas that we got all day long. And there'll be speakers there for that too. But regardless of whether you upgrade or not, tomorrow's free webinar is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for some of the things that are going to be shared there. Some of the people I respect the most in the world are willing to give up a bunch of their secrets and cool stuff. So that's the Wealthy Winner.
Awesome.
Wealthy Winner webinar.
Now, is there something free you're giving away there, or is it something else down the road in January?
No, that's the event itself is just a free event. It's just an industry event.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can talk to. I mean, I've been to your conferences and your workshops and that type of thing in Phoenix, which are just phenomenal. And the couple things I pull away from going is one, your passion. There's you and people on that stage that literally are in tears talking about just the most phenomenal things you can talk about and real people stuff. And I think it's just phenomenal. So I can attest to anybody that hasn't been to Curt's events or hasn't been on a webinar or something or had the pleasure of meeting him. that I know of dozens of people that use, I mean, dozens and dozens of people that use Responsibid, but I know a lot of people, dozens that have gone to his events. I've been there. It's just everything he does first class. He does out of the passion. It just super passionate guy, super high energy. And if there was anybody that, you can take to the bank on what they're going to tell you, it'd be Curt. So definitely check that out tomorrow. I highly recommend it. I'm going to see what I might be able to sneak in there tomorrow myself.
That'd be great.
Can you give any teasers about any one guest that might be on there or anything, or you can't really do that?
No. There's lots of awesome people. I know Brandon Vaughn is going to be giving sort of it won't be an interview style, it'll be like a TED talk about some of the things that he's done as far as growing a business and sort of getting some of that stuff organized in the wintertime. I'm also excited. Somebody's going to be interviewed about how to put your business in hibernation mode and how to do that. It's going to be cool. But I'm really excited. I have an interview with Brennan Williams. He is going to be sharing all of his secrets about dryer vent cleaning and how he got up and running for virtually no money. It's a great winter moneymaker. Dryers are the number one cause of house fires in the United States. It's a good service, but it's also a very profitable, great, low barrier to entry service. And you can do it right and make it a higher barrier to entry version as well. I know from stuff we've talked about in the past. So I'm really excited to dig deep with him on that. He actually did present last year at Wealthy Winter, but this year I have some much deeper questions for him. So if anyone's, and by the way, there's going to be like a half hour dedicated to Christmas lights. I know a lot of people think, oh, Wealthy Winter, you must be talking about Christmas lights. Out of the 7 hours of interviews scheduled, only 30 minutes of it is going to be dedicated to Christmas lights. So keep that in mind. There's so much out there that people are willing to share. And I'm just really excited to get it out into the world.
Awesome. Everybody check that out. If it's not posted yet, it will be posted. The other thing I want to talk about too, Curt, is the home service workshop. I keep saying Responsicon, but it's home service workshop. That is in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's January 25th through the 27th, I believe. I'm right on that, yeah?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, cool. So you've got, I mean, this is really unique. Like I've been to association stuff. I've been to Debbie Sardone's stuff forever in the residential home cleaning space. And she's got a phenomenal thing she puts on in April for that. You have a little bit of quite a unique thing where you've got a lot of different, what you call it, workshops and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, so I've been to a lot of events too. You and I have been on the event tour for years. And there's a lot of really great conferences out there. The one thing I find with most conferences is that they're very focused on inspiration. You go to the conference, maybe there's a motivational speaker. He just makes you feel good. Yep. And that's usually how a conference is supposed to start, and it works great. Then you go to breakout classes and you're inspired to start a new policy, or you're inspired to add a new revenue stream, or you're inspired to hire in a different way, or, like you walk out of there with notes, and these notes are really exciting. So the reason you keep wanting to call it Responsicon, for those listening, it was Responsicon. It was a Responsibid user conference. And this approach of let's inspire, then let's collaborate, then let's execute. And we took that formula and we said, this is really cool for a user conference. But then we found a lot of people wouldn't sign up to come because they're like, oh, well, I'm not a Responsibid user, so why should I come? Okay, we'll change it. It's the home service workshop now. So the idea is that we have main stage speakers who are inspiring. We have panels who are very collaborative, and all the breakfasts and lunches are all provided. It's very collaborative, keeping everyone together all day, every day. The vendors are not just sprinkled in. Actually, this year we even took it another step further. The vendors are literally embedded into the program as guides. Because if you think about a vendor in our industry, they are very good at a specific thing in that industry, and they see everyone on that spectrum within the industry. So what happens is these vendors are like, oh, they're just trying to sell me stuff.
Right.
And I get it. Hey, I told you guys I don't like sales because salesmen scare me. They're manipulative, right? But they're not when they're done correctly. The fact is that a salesman who actually loves and cares about their customers actually has a massive amount of behind the scenes information and stories and techniques that they can share on how to excel in their specific area. So we have actually turned this home service workshop into an area where you go meet with these vendors and you get a relationship with them, and they actually will help you take these inspiration ideas, the things you've collaborated with, and then you actually go into these workshops or hacking rooms. So a workshop is more of a classroom environment. A hacking room is more of a 5-person guided environment where you will spend an hour at a time getting stuff done. So as an example, you might first sit down with someone to audit your website. This is a vendor. They go through, this looks good, this looks good. You may want to consider changing this and this and this. You may want to put a video right here that explains these things. These are the things you're going to hit on. Great. Next thing you do is you go meet with a copywriter, someone who's maybe really good at ChatGPT, teaches you how to teach ChatGPT your voice, and then you build a script. So you spend an hour getting a really cool video script written. Then you take that script, next hacking room, and you go put it on a teleprompter, and you stand in front of a professional recording video. You record this video off of your script. You are given a USB drive with your video on it. You go to another hacking room, someone helps you upload it to YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, embed it on your website. When you go home, your to-do list has become a to-done list. And that's, we call it the home hacking rooms, but that's the concept of the home service workshop.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, it's you're right. You go to a lot of events and you're super pumped up, and they even say it at the events, don't just go home and be pumped up, actually do it. And so everybody hops on a plane, goes home, and all of a sudden the world starts again, right?
But then the problem is, if they get on that plane, they go home. Not to say that anyone's business is a dumpster fire, but you get home to a fire. Like, there's things that they've been waiting to ask you and whatever. Now you've got all this stuff you want to do, but you've compressed all this time that you've been away into the time you're back, and it's pretty defeating feeling.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely unique, and it's you get so much out of going to your event. It's just amazing to think about. Think about it. It's almost like you have to be there, so you have to go, but it's like things are being done and taught to you and done.
Yes,
with you.
That's
right?
it.
So it's taught to you and done with you. That's sort of how the thing is, and it's beautiful. And I will tell you, the last 2 years that we were there, the food was like just phenomenal. I mean, it was like you would think you're at a wedding or something like that when you're going to dish up, man. Seriously, it was. I mean that. I mean, it was great. And just the atmosphere was super nice, and the atmosphere alone. Like, I'm taking pictures of the venue and stuff. I don't do that everywhere I go with some of the places that we hone in on. So that was really cool. And I can go on and on and on. And just it's not always the same people that you see. There are different people that you have there that are not at a lot of other events, and I can attest to that. So that's unique. I talked to Kenneth Harlow, who's a client of ours and a really good guy. He's got a great story, great brand, pressure washing guy out of Myrtle Beach area. And he's always saying, I got the marketing stuff, down. I know the website stuff great. Sean, I need that help with recruiting. Well, I see him at your conference. It's supposed to be about marketing and everything. And I'm going, what are you doing here? He goes, this one's different. This one, I learned something new every single time I'm here. So he definitely, that's just one example of many that I can go through, and we don't have time to go through all the people I've talked to about it. But again, there's a lot of conversation right now on social media about these gurus and these people that have never, made more than $500,000 in revenue in a business or whatever. And now they're coaching people and charging 10 grand. And I do everything I can to make sure I bring on people that are authentic, that are good, honest people that have done the things they say they're going to do. And I know people that they've done those things for by the boatloads. And Curt is certainly one of them. So, Curt, unlike my good pal and your good pal, Mr. Dan Plata, I'm not going to keep you on and drink a bunch of beer for 2.5 hours or 4 hours or whatever Dan shows up to nowadays. And I love him. I love him. Hey, he's every December he stops drinking. So he's not drinking in December. That's a new thing he started last year. So, if Dan's a little bit irritable, which I've never said that in the same sentence, I don't think ever in my life, because he's never irritable, right?
It's so funny you say that. Dan, last time I saw him, so I don't drink alcohol at all. That's why the whole milkshake, get a milkshake with Curt thing started.
Yeah.
Dan and I were having a conversation. I said, Dan, I got to tell you, I've been told that a Kempton who drinks alcohol is an alcoholic. Like, that's just how it goes. Any of my uncles who picked up the bottle, like, they just can't get away from it. And I'm guessing it's probably in my genes. I feel like I got a pretty addictive personality, very likely. However, knowing what I know about people who drink as much as I see with him with a beer in his hand, I would think that you would classify Dan as an alcoholic. However, there is literally no other sign to Dan that I have ever witnessed other than what's in his hand. I have never seen him do the types of things that you would expect from an alcoholic. It's very interesting. It's not my way, but Dan pulls it off, man.
He does. He says it's that Wisconsin boyhood. That's just what we do here in Wisconsin, eh? And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and go, is he like the Dean Martin thing where he actually has a drink in his hand, but he's not really a drunk and he doesn't drink? Because I can't tell you how many people have told me I've never really seen Dan drunk.
Not drunk, not irritable, not so over the top goofy where he's embarrassing people. No, like his inhibitions are always like in control. Like,
absolutely,
there's literally no sign that Dan drinks as much as he does, except for what he's holding in his hand.
We love him, man. We love him. All right, so we're coming up against the hour, so I'm going to let you go. I know you got tons of things going on. If you got some things happening tomorrow, especially, we're going to post all kinds of things out. We got a few people that usually look at it at this live, but we normally get a few hundred people by the end of the week that will take a look at it. So hopefully that'll be too late for tomorrow if they look at it then. But we'll email this out to a few people, which we don't normally do that. Maybe we'll try to get some things happening for you before tomorrow comes.
Yeah. The links are wealthywinter.com and homeserviceworkshop.com.
Okay.
So
got it.
All right.
Real good. Next Tuesday, I have no idea who's on next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but I will know by that time. And I will probably have some time off after that because the holiday's coming up and we are about to roll out a whole new thing with Higher Lead Chill. That's going to blow our existing client socks off, and they're the first ones that are going to get it. We're going to roll it out to our existing clients here in the next week or two. And then we normally get pretty busy in mid-January, and then we're off to the races from there. So we're going to be ready for those existing clients here in the week or two, and we will definitely be ready for all kinds of new clients signing up the 1st of 2024. So I'm going to be doing a lot of goofy things, not just at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Me and Platt are doing some things, so all of a sudden we'll be like, let's get it on in an hour and do it, and we'll do it, and that we'll see what happens. So don't go on my schedule, but beware. In the next couple of days, we're going to hear about Higher Lead and Chill doing some phenomenal new things out there, and we are super pumped up about it. All right. Next Tuesday, 4 p.m. we'll be around. Curt, I appreciate it, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. We'll catch up and talk about some other things maybe after you get through January at least, and then see where we're at then, bud. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Everybody, God bless. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you in about a week from today.